Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. We'll discuss reintegration or re-entry back into the community post-incarceration. Your host for this episode is Charles Hopkins.
Yeah, today on Solutions from the Yard, we'll be talking about the District of Columbia Criminal Code has finally been fully updated since 1901. And the council is trying to change that. Recently, the District of Columbia City Council came together and finally came up with a revision of the DC Criminal Code. And the DC Criminal Code is basically the legislative laws of crimes and punishment in the District of Columbia. And it says that came into existence in 1901, hasn't been changed since 1901. The District of Columbia Criminal Code. Some of the laws on the books might be something like if you tied your horse up on the wrong side of the street, you get fined. And some of these antiquated laws are still in existence. But what we want to talk about today is some of the problems associated with, one, the DC Criminal Code, the fact that it hasn't been changed, and two, what do this mean when you say it has been changed? Joining me today is Dietrich Trent and Michael Dickinson Hill. Welcome.
How you doing?
Welcome.
All right, now both of y'all have been sentenced and punished under the DC Criminal Code. I was not fortunate enough to be up under that one. I was up under the Maryland Criminal Code. But the DC Criminal Code, the unique thing about the DC Criminal Code is that the code don't come into existence. Congress has a final say on what the laws will and will not be, regardless of what the city council do or don't do. And recently the city council came together and revised the DC Criminal Code and putting in changing certain laws and adding more harsh laws. As a person that was subjected to the DC Criminal Code, what are your views on the DC Criminal Code in general, or your understanding of the DC Criminal Code, Dixon Hill?
Well, my views on it is, if you have laws that still exist all the way back until 1901, and upon research, it said that during that time, you still had congressmen that were ex-slave holders.
All right, come on.
At that time. So therefore, you basically still going under laws that existed during slavery.
Right.
And the biasness of those laws. And that's the thing that the problem that I have with the DC Code laws is the biasness of it, because, by not having those set criterias and set guidelines like, the federal laws got, when I came to prison, it was real rare that you saw, a so-called white person, amongst us.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, they can get caught with the same amount of drugs as you and I could get caught with, and they just got probation or, got sentenced to drug rehab, stuff like that. And we always got the harsher penalties. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things about that code. It really doesn't have no set guidelines to strengthen, being impartial.
Right.
And that's the thing that I always saw a problem with it, because, like I said, they come to jail, get caught with, I'm talking about something that I can get caught with, probably get 20 years, and they get probation. Mm-hmm. And that's why I believe that code should be revised, because, and as it has, but it put a lot of people in prison for a long time that looked like me and you. Mm-hmm. and the sentencing was definitely biased when it came to races. And
to echo that point, that was one of the things that came out of this. The reason for changing was that the sentencing structure, which comes up under the DC Code, the sentencing structure was disproportionate when it came to the DC citizens. But again, Congress has its final say. Deidre, what's your take on? And you was when you were subjected to the DC Criminal Code, you were subjected to it as a juvenile, and which goes into again the DC Criminal Code and the way it's implemented when it comes to people of color.
The District of Columbia Code 22503 been revised to 22403.
Mm-hmm.
And it read assault with intent to commit any other offense. Whoever assaults another with intent to commit any other offense which may be punished by imprisonment in the penitentiary shall be imprisoned not more than 5 years. In addition to any other penalty provided under this section, a person may be fined an amount not more than the amount set forth in 223571, some garbage.
Right.
This was a law that was established in March the 3rd, 1901.
Mm-hmm.
It was revised in 2014. Only thing was changed was the title code, and it was changed from 22503 to 22403.
Right.
The language stayed. Now, the reason why I read that code off because
Come on.
that was the code I was charged with as an adult. I mean, not as an adult, as a juvenile,
Right.
as an adult.
Right.
Where does it state anywhere in there that you could bring a juvenile in under this anything?
Right.
They don't. You see no law. You see nothing. This is a charge that you bring. The title says none of this. The reason why I'm saying this because when I got locked up long time ago in 1990s, early 90s, I was on a juvenile tier, and I wasn't the only one with the same type of charge I had. But our indictments read different.
Right.
Reason why I say that because I had got charged with this. It got 32 years from this account.
Dang.
Right? And what it say? 5 years in
5
prison.
years. That's what he said.
Follow me. I'm going to tell y'all a story.
Come on.
How ambiguous the DC statute codes been for so many years.
That's right.
Now it don't need to be picked apart. It need to be taken apart.
That's right. Come on.
And rebuilt. And so let me get back to the story. What I was trying to explain to the people. A lot of other brothers was charged with, which was assault with 22501, which is assault with attempt to kill, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all juveniles, but mine's code said something different. So I filed 15 years later after my sentence. I filed when I got a little bit more knowledgeable what was going on, what I was facing, and when my mind started to mature and understand that I'm an adult and my mind faculty starting to catch up with my body.
That's right.
So I understood, and I asked the judge, "Hey, why is my this DC title code say 5 years in imprisonment?" You know what he wrote me? Right? He said, you correct, Mr. Trent, but you was armed under this offense, so that's why we gave you the 32 years to life. I said, where it say that at? And
right.
Where do this say that at?
Right.
So my point is, man, this is not nothing new, right? They just, what it is now is the demographics and the colors of your DC District of Columbia is changing now. And these laws will not only affect the brown and the black person now, it's going to affect the other man now. It's going to affect, because now the population is starting to balance out.
Right. And you know what? That's and to echo your point, this was the takeaway in terms of some of the criticism that came out for saying that the reason why the DC Criminal Code need to be changed because it's so ambiguous that it's no specific. And me and Mike was talking about this earlier when it said about assault. You don't have a definition of what assault is. Right. So who do you leave that up to? In the case that you just read, it say 5 years or and a penalty for something related to it. But then you don't say, what those penalties related to it is.
My point.
And okay, here go another point. All right, so now they saying they're gonna change the DC Criminal Code, Dickinson Hill, but ultimately, Congress has the final say so on approving the changes or not. And one of the changes that the DC Council is adamant about not including is strict gun laws, because they saying the council is saying that the statistics and studies say that strict gun laws do not prevent gun violence.
Right.
So they're saying we're not going to increase the penalty for possession of a weapon or utilization of a weapon in a crime of violence. When that gets to Congress, Mike, pick it up from there. What you think they're going to do with it? Because Congress has the final say on what they just agreed to. They got to go first go to the mayor. Mm-hmm. If the mayor disagree with it, she can kick it back or veto it. Then it go or she can agree with it and it go to Congress. Congress has the final say on whatever goes on in the District of Columbia, because the District of Columbia is not a state, right? It's a plantation. Come on, Mike.
Well, I never thought that you'd be able to carry a handgun in D.C. until gentrification came around.
Come on, talk about that.
Because, D.C. been fighting for that for a long time. And then once the gentrification came in, another race of people came in, then all of a sudden now the Second Amendment apply. So I believe, like, when you go all the way back to slavery, right? Let's go back to the slave code laws. The slave code laws was guidelines on the restrictions and the penalties that be put on a slave if they committed a certain offense, not per se a crime, but a certain offense. Mm-hmm. Like you can't look a white man in the eyes. Mm-hmm. That was an offense. Yeah. It wasn't a crime, but it was an offense. Yeah. If you put your hands on the white man, that was an offense, and you can get 100 lashes. XYZ right. Running away, you can get this, you can get that. That was called the slave code laws. Then after 1865, the slave code laws just changed names and went from the slave code to the black code laws. Come on. But the black code laws still had some of the same provisions in statutes, but it was just more things added. That's right. Because now they created more laws that can cover us while we was free. You understand what I'm saying? Because we're not on the plantations no more. So now they put laws in like, okay, if a so-called black man do this or do that, it can cover this or cover that. Mm-hmm. You fall under those guidelines and those statutes. So when you really just think about it, what laws did they have? They didn't have no laws on them. No. You know what I'm saying? These things were made for us, just like the 13th Amendment is really not even necessary, because if we was never slaves, that would have never been in there. Mm-hmm. The 14th Amendment is really not necessary because that don't have nothing to do with anybody that was considered Negro, black, or color. It didn't even have nothing to do with it. So that's not even necessary to put in there. The 15th Amendment is not even necessary because it don't apply to another nationality of people. Mm-hmm. It don't even apply. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So the picture that I'm trying to paint is how all these laws that's been going on, amendments that been going on, was strictly geared towards us. Yeah. So this DC code just evolved. These are just nothing but guidelines that deal with us. That's right. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, that's why I said at the beginning of the show, when we get incarcerated, we get the full penalties. When another race get incarcerated, it don't apply to them. And see, that's the thing that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to point out is how all these laws and these codes that's coming out really don't apply to nobody but us. Right. It applies to us.
And look, it say right here, the District of Columbia, right? Current criminal code stands in sharp contrast to most others U.S. jurisdiction. And to go back to your point, that the D.C. Code, Criminal Code, 1901, the people that wrote it was owned slaves.
Yes.
All right. So if you own slaves, you're not writing a code to say that if you steal or if you assault, it's a problem. You're writing a code to say that if you, the slave, do X, Y, Z,
Exactly.
it's punishable by A, B, C.
Exactly.
As far as like in the civil society, if you had issues, and very rarely would you come to court on those issues, because during that time, the plantation ran amok and all the power came through the plantation. But Dietrich, talk about how the DC Criminal Code, as it stands, when they talked about changing, talk about what role should have the community had played in trying to have input on the change in the DC Code. Because remember, we're talking about now, this code is going to be applied to DC residents. Okay, so, and then we got a question whether or not what the DC residents going to look like in 5 years from today.
Let me ask you something. Then we just had a vote. We had a lot of we just went through election.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any of this on the election?
We ain't see nothing on we ain't hear nothing about it.
You didn't hear anything about
Nothing
the bill?
about it.
Okay. Let me tell you why you ain't gonna hear nothing about the bill on the election. Because they don't want the people involved when it comes to this part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we hollering, we want to be a state, but we need to start operating like a state and say that.
Come on, speak on that. Speak on that.
And meaning is, if how we operate as a state, you serve it. You let your people vote on. Do we want to change the laws? And this is the things that we want, because we are the people that the laws are going to affect. It's not going to affect a Virginia or Maryland only if they drive through or whatever, or like it was one of the congressmen from Oregon or somewhere. He made it. He up there hollering about what type of laws he want in DC.
Yeah.
This is madness.
That's right.
Right now, but one of the main things, and I know, Mike, you could speak on to this because you was under this code. One of the most ambiguous. I don't know where they found this code at. It can't be found. It's not no statute on it. It's nothing to stand on this code. And I don't know how they made it disappear. 223202. This code here is offense, like Mike said, offense. It's not a criminal statute.
Yeah, right, not a statute. Come on.
It's an offense. So it's all up to us how we feel. You know what? I don't like the way he did that. So we're going to give him this wild arm offense. But you don't even know this wild arm offense is really.
Yeah, I'm offended.
I'm offended. And excuse my French, but man, this is straight from the yard, for solutions from the yard. But it's debucking the nigga.
Yeah.
Offense, and I mean that. It's because it's such an offense that you could find laws that you're not guilty of your actual criminal offense, but you can't get up under the 3202 because they said, oh yeah, you did all that, but you was wild on with this offense, so you still have life on the back of your number. This was one of the offenses that Congress quietly
come on.
They took off our books in 2014. You see, they came back with the one when they changed the. Mike, help me when I'm speaking. When the indeterminate numbers,
right,
to the determined numbers,
right.
That's how they put the requiem of the 223202. That's how they put that to bed, because they put it to bed, but they didn't put it to bed because there was a lot of brothers still in there under that code.
That's what and that right there, what you just said is the problem with the DC criminal code.
How can you? Yes, that's my thing. How can you revise a code, but then you saying it's no good, but you still have people
subjected
in prison,
and that's the crazy. See, that's the insanity part about it. Because you saying that a DC criminal code written by slave owners, reinforced by their ancestors, in Congress, right? and just like you say, somebody in the heartland of America saying, I don't agree with DC criminal code. I don't agree with the way DC criminal code is when it says about gun control. I think that you should give 50 years for a handgun. I don't think that you should be lenient on guns. So because you in Congress, even though your citizens, your elected officials say, we don't want a mandatory sentence on handguns. Even though they say it and agree to it, you can come around and say, as Congress, no, if you don't put this in there, then we not going to sign off on it. And all these old omnibus offenses going to remain the same. And therein lies the problem. And this is the problem with the ambiguity. Talk about that though, Mike, because you were subjected to the omnibus bill.
Oh, yeah. I definitely can speak on that because the Omnibus Act came out in 1994 and existed to 2000. It was a 6-year span. If you got sentenced within 1994 to 2000, when you got sentenced, you didn't have no good time, which means that you had to go to your expiration date. Mm-hmm. Now, I was trying to figure out in my research that how can you do that? What was this? Like you said, there's no statute, there's no reason for you to do that.
Right.
And within the 6-year span, you telling me that if I got locked up in 1999 and I get 20 years, I got to do my whole 20 for day. But if Dietrich turned right around and got locked up in 2001, he still get his 5 days a month.
Yeah.
But both of us got the exact same charge.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make no sense because there's no guidelines to say, why are you even doing that?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that always baffled me about the Omnibus Act. You did not have no reason to do it because a person can have the exact same identical charge and get their good time and I don't got mine.
And Dietrich, why do they do it? Why can they do it though? He said, like Mike say, they don't have no right, but why can they do it?
Okay. Now, so I gotta go. Let's go back.
Go back.
Did we have any problems when and this is nothing against no one seat why they terms in any seats, but we talk about criminal code, right? Do you compare the Good Time Credit Act, and it was before the Good Time Credit Act, it was called the old law. Mm-hmm. Something like it. Was it the old law, man?
Yeah, the DC old. Yeah, that's what everybody's called.
Yeah, it was called the old law. Actually, that's the name of the book. It was the old law till it came to the DC Good Time Credit Act. Under both of these both of these criminal codes back then and these statutes back then during this time, you had good credit. It was implemented for rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The mayor of DC made sure that he signed on to stuff of this nature.
Mm-hmm. You talk about Marion Byrd,
right? Marion Byrd, the mayor for life, once again. But now now I'm getting back to how it could go, how they could be able to do it. When these stuff come out and we don't put our signature on it,
mm-hmm.
see, because all I don't have to do is don't sign. They're gonna still go to the Congress.
Come on,
right?
That's right.
And then the Congress don't sign. That mean what it is.
Mm-hmm.
What it mean?
It means law.
But no signature. So who's held by this? Who gonna be in trouble? Who can we say? Mary Barker said, I ain't signed it. I ain't signed that. I didn't. She go, everybody can say.
The citizens still gonna be subjected to it.
But the citizens still be subjected to this law. That's why we need to start acting like we a state.
And I think, and you know what, on that, and I think that at some point in time we're going to flush that out because that make good sense.
That don't make sense that you sitting in the seat and you let stuff go. We get stuff that go past you that don't be signed. I think that process need to be looked at first.
And the other thing is the point, like you say, we need to start acting like we are a state. And by that, you made the right, correct analysis. We need to take charge of
our government.
Of our government. Because we need to stop letting them. We need to stop letting them say what is and what ain't. And on that note, Dixon Hill, what's the solution? Because this is what we're about, solutions from the yard. So what's your solution? We on this yard, we beating these people up about omnibus bill and racist ass laws and don't pardon nothing I said. Racist laws. What's the solution?
Well, like, the solution is like Dietrich said about the voting. And it goes back to it really goes back to the 15th Amendment. Mm-hmm. When we had to be given the right to vote. And when us as a people, so-called black people, African American people, whatever you choose to be called, black, brown, us as a people, we couldn't vote. And we still couldn't vote all the way to what? To 1965.
Come on.
Now, when you really think about it, what's DC's nickname? The old nickname?
Chocolate City.
Okay, then. So now you see the picture that I'm trying to paint.
Well, you saying we turned from chocolate to what?
Yeah, we turned to chocolate to
vanilla.
Man, vanilla swirl or something. It ain't even Chocolate City no more.
It's cappuccino right now.
Oh, it's cappuccino. Okay, well, it ain't Chocolate City no more. Right. It ain't dark chocolate no more.
No, it's
so
not.
The point that I'm trying to make is one of the reasons why I believe, we haven't been able to, us as citizens, vote on something, far as the laws in the city, because they never wanted us to vote from the get-go. They never wanted us to vote from the get-go. You see what I'm saying? So how can you vote to even make laws, especially laws that's going to determine your fate? So my solution is, to allow us to start standing up and pushing that envelope. Because now that you have a lot of Europeans, so-called white people coming to the city, that's why these things going to get revised, because they the ones that's going to go to city council and want to start demanding the vote. So guess what? We got to be right on that same train. We got to be on that train.
You in the rec yard, you in the rec hall. You got the solution. What's your solution in the rec hall?
My solution is that, and piggybacking on what Dixon Hill was saying, is that we, the people, the District of Columbia residents, holds the power.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that we hold the power is understand why they haven't gave the District of Columbia a vote. The people, because we would change the balance, the power of balance. Right? Mm-hmm. Why we live here? Why we don't have a say on what goes and what don't goes here? You can't move anywhere else in the rural areas saying you're going to build something here and you do your voter. They don't even ask us to vote on stuff to vote. We just have to holler and say, oh, we don't want the stuff here.
Yeah.
We don't get votes here because they don't want us to control the most powerful city in the world.
Come on.
That's why you ain't gonna never get a vote here. That's why they don't want this to be a state, because once we become the most powerful city in the world with a vote. And I stopped that by, but we become the most powerful for real.
Yeah,
but think about it.
Yeah, no.
We as residents of DC, District of Columbia, holding a vote of what goes on in other states as well. Come on, they don't want that. That's why they all sit here to make the vote. And we control everything that comes from this city, from this vote. But getting back to the point that we have to start asking for stuff to be put on our ballots. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
There you have it. Solution from the yard. Plain and simple. Control your own destiny through the vote. Thank you. That's it.
You've been listening to Solutions from the Yard. This podcast is presented by Voices for a Second Chance, a comprehensive reentry program that provides culturally appropriate, trauma-informed, gender-specific, and peer-based services. For more information, go to info@vscdc.org or visit our website at www.vscdc.org.